Hello, this is Dr. Mike, and welcome to Chapter 11 from your psychology textbook on stress, health, and coping. I believe in many ways that this week's lecture, or today's lecture, will be something that you'll find very helpful and as a part of your life, because we live in a very stressful situation, and our stress often affects our health and how we cope with life. So pay very careful attention to this chapter, and I trust that you will go back and read in some detail in order to gain all of the things that are involved here. As far as learning outcomes, we want to define stress and identify the sources. We want to identify psychological moderators of how we deal with stress, describe the impact on the body, explain the relationships between psychology and health. And mental health is just as important to us as our own physical health, so it's important for us to consider that. Stress is a demand that's made on an organism to adapt or to cope or to adjust. We live in a very stressful environment where we have to deal with change on almost a daily basis. I worked for BMW Manufacturing for 10 years, and that was their mantra. The only thing constant about BMW was change, and that change could happen weekly or monthly. It could also happen daily. It could happen hour by hour. And you had to be able to adopt and adapt and to cope with that kind of environment. Well, our day becomes more and more about that as we deal in the world of work. It may be with your children. It might be with your community. Any number of things can place demands upon us that we have to deal with. There is helpful stress called eustress, in which it motivates you to do a job well and to move forward. But intense or prolonged stress can affect a person's moods. It can impair the ability to experience pleasure. It will can eventually harm your body, cause heart attacks, strokes, and any number of other psychological disorders that could happen. In this chart, we look at the percentage of college freshmen, who reported feeling overwhelmed. I am starting 3 new classes today. That will not be unusual for my students to feel like that they've been overwhelmed when I get finished with the syllabus and talking about what they need to do for this course. But some of that is normal. Some of it we are self-induced. Some stress is good for us. That's one of our truth or fictions. That is true. Without some stress, we'd probably not do nearly as much of the things that we do. Studies that relationship between psychological factors and the prevention and treatment of physical factors is important. Psychologists conduct research and learn how stress, behavior patterns, and attitudes can lead to, or they can aggravate, an illness. If you have COPD or you have any other number of things, stress aggravates the condition. And people have to learn to cope with stress in order to get on in this world that we live in. Stress and pathogens, that is, germs and diseases, interact to influence the immune system. So in this day, our immune systems are greatly under attack by all kind of outside forces, and stress only makes that worse. The other thing that we have to think about is that you decide when to seek health care. And usually people wait too late to do that. Psychological interventions, behavioral modification can contribute to physical health in tremendous ways. Regularly occurring conditions and experiences that can threaten or harm one's well-being are important to take under advisement. Household health, time pressure, inner concern, environmental factors, financial responsibility, work, security hassles, all those things help to induce stress and can affect your outcome. Life changes have a lot to do with this. They may be positive or negative. They occur irregularly. But in that, death of a spouse, beginning college, unwanted pregnancy, all this list here is very important to think about because they tend to add to the stress that we live under. Academic success can be stressful. There are a number of you probably that are determined to get good grades. There's a fine line between wanting and doing and it beginning to control your life. I've had a few students who were so obsessed about an A that they couldn't function because they had to have this A. They felt like that it was a mark of their approval. That's very true of students who start later in life as well. Those of us that are older students, and I think you remember that I'm 62 and that I'm still working on a master's degree in English, and I obsess sometimes over getting an A in that class. I've had one B plus that was 1/10 of a point away from an A. That's the only B I have on record, and so it puts a lot of stress on me as an old guy to get my work done and do it well. Hassles and life changes can affect your mood, can predict health problems. The American Psychological Association commissions surveys of stress in America. And guess what? The major source of stress in America is money, having enough to pay your bills or maybe, getting on beyond that. There are a lot of warning signs that stress is attacking your health: headaches, muscle tension, neck and back pain, upset stomach, dry mouth, chest pains, rapid heartbeat, difficulty of falling or staying asleep, fatigue. I don't know when we go through this list, it would be well for you to look at this list and to think about all of these things and how they affect your life. Maybe you have warning signs that you're under too much stress. Being pulled in two or more directions by opposing motives. There's a lot of this, and the reaction to that: approach avoidance, approach avoidance, and avoidance, and multiple approach avoidance. All these things are ways we react to stress, and you can look at those in the book for a better definition. Albert Ellis looked at irrational beliefs. Certain activating events bring about beliefs and consequences. Beliefs of a person that tend to that catastrophe is approaching, and worry and anxiety over things that may never come. You realize that most of the things that human beings worry about aren't even rational. Irrational beliefs magnify the effects of problems. Some of you may have that problem. You can think about things and you can envision what might happen that hasn't happened, that probably never will happen, and you get yourself worked up into a state of anxiety. A lot of irrational beliefs, and you can look at these. I'm not going to read them to you, but you realize that irrationally, open their cognitive doorways to distress, and these attack your immune system. So how you think is important. There are two different types of behavior patterns, type A and type B. You can figure out which one of these you are. Type A is highly driven, competitive, impatient, hostile, aggressive. They're always striving for continual self-improvement, and known as a corollary-prone behavior pattern. Some of this is good. It is all right to be a type A personality as long as you control that deal and doesn't let it control you. There is a great difference between you being in control and it controlling you. Type B, much more relaxed and focused on the quality of life. They enjoy life. Nothing, very few things are going to make them hostile or aggressive. They're less ambitious and less impatient, but probably healthier than the rest of us. So, truth or fiction, searching for social approval or perfection is an excellent way of making yourself miserable, and that really is true. Another true or false: type A people achieve more than type B people, but they're less satisfied with themselves. And that too is very, very true. So basically, psychological stress motivators have to do mainly with expectations. They affect one's ability to withstand stress, allow one to persist in difficult tasks and endure discomfort, high self-efficacy of expectations. Some of this, people are less prone to be disturbed by adverse events. So your body is set up to deal with adverse events, but sometimes we push the limit and push it over the edge and make things worse. So how do you resist stress? A lot of characteristics of hardy people: commitment, challenge, control. they possess some kind of internal locus of control. It does. My grandmother was like that. Didn't matter what kind of storm or catastrophe happened, she had that internal locus of control that never changed. Research suggests that humor moderates effects of stress. The ability to laugh is huge. And so laughter stimulates an output of endorphins in your body, enhances the function of the immune system, provides positive cognitive shifts. So laughing is a good thing, and you need to find something that makes you laugh and do it often because it really does help your body. Humor helps us cope with stress. That is true, and I encourage you to do that. Predictability allows one to prepare for the inevitability and cope. Provides greater benefits to internals and externals, and control, or the illusion of control, allows one to plan. So if you can learn to plan, just like with school, it's very easy to get stressed out over a test that's coming tomorrow, and then you haven't studied the day before and you cram that night, and so those things just build the stressors, increase your attack on your immune system, where if you had started studying a week ago and felt more confident and had control, you wouldn't be nearly in the stressful state that you're in. Lack of planning usually increases our stress level. So social supports are important. They act as a buffer against the effects of stress, show how people resist infectious diseases, help people cope with stressors. Having people around you to encourage you tend to help you deal with the stress. And there's a lot of different kinds: emotional concern, instrumental aid, information, appraisal, socializing. All these things are important. So people that go through this general adaptation syndrome of dealing with stress, usually they'll get an alarm reaction, they'll get to a resistance stage, and finally they'll be exhausted with it. So these are all important as you look, and you can read about these in greater detail in the text, but stress is something that we need to really deal with in our lives. So the endocrine system tends to react to stress, and you can see here the different hormones and things that are secreted that help your brain deal with stress, and these are important for you to understand and take note of. So usually alarm reaction. Think about this. This is road rage. Some guy's having a fit over this lady's driving. I get that all the time because I'm a terrible driver. But your body secretes certain compounds that help to deal with that. It raises your blood pressure, your digestion is inhibited, it releases sugar into the liver. So think about that in terms of what that's doing to your health. And when you get angry, when you get frustrated, when you are stressed out over whether it's somebody's driving, I always ask myself, what's this going to matter in 100 years? You know, if somebody curses me, gives me the finger on the road, all those things. There's a lot of road rage out there today. I just moved from Colorado. That has to be the worst place for road rage I've ever seen. People are always, they've had shootings over people upset. What does it gain if you shoot somebody in your anger and you spend the rest of your life in prison? But the components of this alarm reaction are interesting. Then you go to the resistance stage. This is the adaptation. Occurs if the alarm reaction mobilizes the body. The stressor is not removed. You have endocrine and sympathetic activity going on, lower than the alarm rate, but it continues to be higher than normal. I've had jobs where this was true, that every day was this high stress, strung out reaction, and all day long your body systems are putting out all these different things. And then the exhaustion stage occurs when the stressor is not dealt with adequately. Muscles become fatigued, parasympathetic division may predominate. Continued stress may lead to diseases of adaptation, like allergies or hives or coronary heart disease, or even death. Think about that. Living under stress, not dealing with stress adequately can lead to real physical reactions. Your body reacts to that. And there's a lot of people that need to take stress under advisement and think about that. So your body combats, your immune system will combat disease by producing white blood cells to kill pathogens, generate antibodies to battle antigens and inflammation, increased leukocytes sent to the injured area to combat invading bacteria. But your body will finally get fatigued at doing that if you don't deal with stressors. There's a lot of gender differences in stress. Women under stress are more likely to demonstrate that in their body language, in the way they reach out and all this stuff, because it's an evolutionary view. Behavior promotes the survival of females who are tending to their young people. Having children, your body reacts differently to stress. You're much more in the nurturing protection mode sometimes than men are. Males are more aggressive due to hormone differences. All these things are important. But stress stimulates the production of steroids. Steroids interfere with the formation of antibodies. They decrease inflammation. All of these are body reactions to all these things. So just in closing, to deal with stress, identify the source. Learn your own stress signals. Recognize how you deal with stress. Find healthy ways to manage stress. Take care of yourself. Reach out for support. Take a walk. Exercise. All these things. At any given moment, countless microscopic warriors within your body are carrying out search and destroy missions against foreign agents. And that is true. So think about these things. This is one of the big areas that we want you to think about in psychology is stress, what it's doing to your body, how do you react to it, how do you deal with it, how do you tap down these agents that can bring disease and death even if you don't deal with them. Thanks.